Junkyard Batman, Chapter 2. Apparently I passed out on the side of the road. I'd managed to pull over, but I don't remember it. I sat there idling in the Batmobile well after sunrise before Al finally found me in it. After checking my vitals, he used the official Wayne tow truck to haul me in. After I woke, I tell them both about everything that occurred, every embarrassing detail. As Uncle Lou stitches me up, he chastises me. "I told you this was a bad idea," he says. "You promised no one was to die. That includes you." As worried as Uncle Lou is, Al seems delighted. "Armor worked," he grunts, rapping a knuckle against my faceplate. "Dug 3 slugs out of the back panel of your Kevlar. Might need a replacement." "We can't afford a replacement," I reply through my teeth. Uncle Lou isn't being as gentle with the stitches as I'd like. "Just move the front panel to the back." Al laughs. "Rob Peter to pay Paul, huh?" "Peter won't mind," I grunt. "Everyone aim center mass, boy." Now Al is chastising me. "You don't go out again until we have you padded front and back." Honestly, that suits me fine. I'm still rattled from being shot. The same thing that took Mom and Dad almost sent me to join them. But on reflection, I'm more angry than scared that they shot at me. I'm furious, even. With a dark joy, I remember cracking that nutjob's body under that propane bomb. "Anyone die?" Al asks casually. Uncle Lou sighs. "Police scanner reported the explosion, but no fatalities. We'll wait for more on the local news tonight." I looked to Uncle Lou, firmly eye to eye. "Nobody died tonight," I said. "I made sure of that." He smiles at me sadly. "If I hadn't made you promise, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. If you hadn't made me promise, a pregnant woman and the father would be dead. But no more explosives, no more bombs. Too much can go wrong." Al and Uncle Lou nod in agreement. I'm in the recliner, my dad's old one, when the news comes on. I've got a bowl of cereal in my lap, the usual dinner chaser for me. If food ever wanted to be safe, it wouldn't sit still around me, let me tell you. So the final story that Gotham 5 keeps hinting at is the explosion south of the city. A pretty news reporter, a blonde bombshell named Vicky Vale, is interviewing a member of the city council. He got elected recently, so I haven't learned his name, and I can't pronounce it despite it being spelled out for me at the bottom of the screen. "What do you think caused this explosion? Some rumors are that it was a drug production center or militia camp for domestic terrorists that..." He puts a hand up, interrupting her. The councilman, a handsome man with a sharp goatee, raises a gentle palm as he continues. He has kind eyes, and his demeanor treads the line of between aloof and charming. "Miss Vale, I'd like to assure everyone that this was not an act of terrorism of any kind. It appears to be an accident revolving around improper storage of propane. Fortunately, no one was seriously harmed, and the fire chief is on the scene to evaluate." Looking at me through the camera, he continues. "I'd like to remind the people of Gotham, and in the counties beyond, to please be mindful when handling dangerous substances. Follow proper guidelines." I learned 2 things from this. Number 1, Vicky Vale is single. No ring, and he called her miss. Number 2, why isn't the mayor on TV? Why a councilman? Both things aside, this councilman is either not in the know, or he is, and he is trying to keep people from freaking out over a meth factory in their backyard. I spoon another mouthful of cereal in. "I broke Joker's something in his midsection gave," I announced through the side of my mouth that isn't bulging with soggy flakes. I'd call that seriously harmed for sure. Vicky thanks the councilman, and the report switches to her voiceover. "But County Sheriff Gordon has other thoughts on the matter. We spoke to him earlier this morning." The news cut to daytime, the smoldering wreckage of my work in wide-angle display. Skeletal ribs of trailers poke up skyward. The entire underground complex had collapsed from the explosions, burying everything. "Damn, boy," Al whistles. Uncle Lou nods. "Right. No more bombs. Ever." The news camera zooms in on a weathered old man, almost as crusty as Al. It's the sheriff, kicking his boot around the debris with a big iron on his hip. His eyebrows are in bushy competition with his mustache, and when he sees Vicky approaching, he hides his annoyance poorly. "What can you tell us about what happened here, Sheriff Gordon?" she asks, tilting the microphone to him. "Nothing," he says without affect. "Wasn't this place producing drugs? A distribution center for meth and other narcotics?" He looks about with keen eyes. He is trying to show disinterest, but he can't hide some level of amusement. "I certainly hope so." And with that he wanders off. I like him. At some point I fall asleep in the chair. Someone must have picked up the cereal bowl off my stomach and put a blanket over me. After laying low for a few days, we pulled the Batmobile out of the garage and into the carport to work on it. The thick layer of metal that Al and I welded on caught a couple of bullets for us to dig out, and I buff out a couple scratches. Johnny Cash blazes about rusty cages on the radio as Al sings along. It's perfect. Say what you will about Al, but he has a nice singing voice, hand to God. You should hear him on a proper banjo when he is in a bluegrass mood. It is haunting. I used to sit in bed and smile just listening to him outside in a lawn chair. That was a lie. I still do. We break for sandwiches with Uncle Lou in the office. It has been a slow day for him, with only a few people coming by to dig out carburetors and airbags. Noshing our way through a bag of barbecue chips, we chase everything with a beer. I've yet to find a beer I like, but I'm a man, damn it, and I shall suffer beer until I enjoy it. "Could get a new plate at the store," Al mumbles through a mouthful of sandwich. "We got the money for that?" I ask. "We had a slow month." Uncle Lou nods. "Freezer is full, and we've caught up on taxes. If you can find one cheap, sure, it would be worth it." "I'm okay with having the plate in the back and not the front," I offer. "But we are not," Uncle Lou says with finality. After eating, Al and I pile into his station wagon and head into Gotham. The industrial areas are littered with rail cars and rusty water towers. We go by the power station and the water treatment plant. I see the same logo for the utility company everywhere. Penguin PLW. This gets me thinking about branding. When you see that logo, you think power, light, and water, like their jingle says on the radio. So I need a logo. I want people to see it and know Batman, but no jingle because I don't drive an ice cream truck. Dang it. Now I want ice cream. We get to the store. It's still on the south side of Gotham in a rougher part of town, with weeds cracking the sidewalks and out-of-style graffiti no one bothered to clean or tag over. Everything is chain-link fence and street basketball. Mom and Dad used to drive me up here to play in the open fire hydrants during the hot summers. All the neighborhood kids played basketball or baseball or soccer in the street, and people rolled out rusty grills and coolers of beer. I'm a bit sad, thinking of happier days, when the store owner buzzes us in through the security door. He's a friend of Al's, and they share a casual nod before catching up on a lot of nothing. Poking around, I dig through piles of Alice gear like dry bowls of noodles. He's also got a case of novelty knives, hatchets, and World War II memorabilia too. But there isn't much here that appeals to me, since most of it caters to man-children playing militia dress-up. That's when I spy it. A ballistic shield. The kind SWAT teams use to deflect bullets and weapons fire. It's lightweight, and as big as a car door with a bulletproof window in it. Clearly, it has seen some action from the scorch marks and bullet nicks, and I love it. It's just like me. "How much for the shield?" I ask on impulse. Al and the owner look over. $1,000, the owner says before returning to his conversation. But the shield holds Al's attention for a bit. "We'll take it," he says without negotiating. No, we won't," I say, stepping up to the counter. "Al, we can't—" Al shoots me a look. He's never, ever raised a hand to me, or even threatened to do so. It's not because he's a gentle man, but he's just never had to. Because when Al shoots me that look, my survival instinct kicks in, and I shut the hell right up. "You got $1,000?" the owner asks. "Cash?" Al shakes his head. I'll put up the daring. The 5-string? I finally figure out what's going on. Al is pawning his prized banjo. No! I step forward, nudging myself into the men's space. These men passively intimidate me, but if you put them both in a blender, I'm still bigger. That banjo goes nowhere. I put up something else. Come by the yard and pick up some radio equipment from the older cars. Good Chevy stuff. The owner is unimpressed. Boy, Al is almost at a loss from my gumption. He looks ready to bop me. It's my dearling. You telling me what to do with my dearling? Yes. The owner howls with delight. That is worth it. Yup, alright, kid. I'll come by the yard and pick some stuff out. That's a deal. Banjo's a hard sell unless I do it online anyhow. Al is unhappy, but I can see the tension ease from his body. The door chime rings. Craning his neck around us, the owner squints. Hey, ease off, boys. Let me deal with this one. Al and I suddenly wander off in different directions, and a girl approaches the counter. She's as old as me, a bit north of drinking age. Her jeans are loose but not baggy. She's got on stomping boots, and her black hoodie has little cat ears. It's cute. She takes in the store quickly, her dark eyes darting about, taking note of Al and me. My God, she is smoking hot with dark eyebrows and hooped silver earrings. Something familiar strikes me about her, but it could just be my hormones feeding false information to my brain. Anyhow, I can't take my eyes off her. Slinking directly to the counter, she unloads the central pocket of her pullover hoodie. Pearls, a few watches, and a fancy pen tumble out onto the owner's counter. Without a word, he looks everything over. Fitting a loop into his eye like a monocle, he spends extra time on the pearls. With a nod, he dips under the counter and brings up a lockbox. Counting cash, he plucks out several bills and presents them to her. She doesn't twitch. He huffs and adds another bill. Then another. When he reaches for yet a third bill, she stops him, pushing it back. She just wanted to see how far she could push him, and she didn't even take that last bill. Maybe this is how she retains buyers for her goods, which I strongly suspect are stolen. This makes me what kind of person Batman is. Does Batman fight violent crime or crime in general? I'm not a cop, nor do I want to be, given how much bullshit is piled onto them from all sides. But if I'm to make the world better, am I to chase down thieves trying to make ends meet? How much better would her world be if I took her source of income away from her and got her arrested? Nah, Batman might be a bomber who terrorizes pregnant women out of his own incompetence, but he isn't an asshole. She's broke like me. I won't be her enemy. But oh man, I wouldn't mind chasing her, let me tell you. Crumpling the cash into her hoodie, she spins and darts out of the store. I try to catch her eye, hoping upon hope that she likes the slab of beef hiding behind a hat rack gawking at her. She doesn't notice me at all and heads out the door. But, in the reflection of the glass, as she exits, her eyes pierce me. Damn! I want to ask the pawn shop owner about her, but Al speaks first. You'll trade my dearing for her number. I'm blushing like a fire engine caught naked in church. The owner puts away his new catch of jewelry. Don't mess with Selena. She'll eat your face. Honestly, I'll be down for that. We take the shield, and the owner promises to come by next week to pick out a fair trade with Uncle Lucius. Tossing the ballistic treasure into the back of the station wagon, Al thumps my good shoulder. Just 'cause you got shot for the first time don't mean you get to be a man of the yard, he says. He isn't as angry as he is trying to appear. Not the first time I was shot, I say. 3rd grade. Airsoft rifle. I am hardened. He cracks a smile. Yeah, just like when that girlie walked in. The blood from my parents pools on the grimy tile between them, conjoining into a reflective red mirror. As it expands, it channels into the grooves of the grout, forming a square pattern of canals. This is the image that is burned into my head. It arrives at full bore in that place between asleep and awake, just in time to jerk me from rest. I sit up in my parents' bed, the same bed. A queen-sized bed in the master bedroom of our trailer home. When I lost them, I slept in it because I could still smell them on the pillows, smell their hair, Dad's cologne, and Mom's conditioner. And I never left. This somehow became my bed, like the Wayne Junkyard is mine now. At least in name. Uncle Lucius runs everything because I doubt he could tolerate not running it. The man needs to keep mentally busy, engaged. But sometimes, when I'm alone and without something in my hands to tinker with or weld, I realize just how stunted I am. Homeschooled after that night, raised by Uncle Lou and Al, and no trade school or higher education. I've got no future, but this junkyard, without the Batman. That weakness in my heart burns away when I think of it. Of being Batman. I destroyed a meth factory. A secret underground meth factory. How cool is that? I was shot and attacked. I lived, and most powerful of all, I did it without anyone dying. If Chill had been more powerful, he could have robbed my parents of their phones and cash without shooting them. A weak man needs a gun. Chill's weakness killed my parents. I won't be weak like Chill. No one dies. I think about Mom and Dad, their blood seeping into the grout, pooling into a tiny puddle between them, together to the end, even by violence. Yeah, no sleep tonight. I get up, sniff a pair of jeans that I can tolerate, and leave the trailer. The lawn chairs and spool tables still smell of Al's nightly cigarette. It calms me, knowing that he is off in his own trailer on the edge of the yard sleeping. Wandering for a few minutes, I arrive where we organize the appliances. I find a few old AC units and yank out several capacitors. They don't resell for anything, but they do hold a decent charge, and they are hardy enough to take a beating. Bet I could rig them together for some kind of taser system, maybe electrify a chain from the Batmobile, or even a long tarp. I need less lethal solutions to taking down people. Just being bullet resistant isn't enough. I've got to come up with smoke bombs to choke people out and conceal myself, and the homemade taser weapon could be a thing. Maybe a net? A wire net. That would cast over a couple of people, then jolt them. I'd have to launch it from the Batmobile because there's no way I'm hauling around 40 pounds of capacitors. Maybe a net launcher? I could carry it, aim, and pow! Getting to work, I find comfort in yanking several more capacitors free. Scouring their plugs, I wire them together and tinker with the voltage. With a pencil and an old composition book, I design a launcher. It's like a reverse crossbow that flings a coiled-up net. Would the wire be copper? This will take some thought. And I've got to regulate the output. I don't want to kill anyone. Maybe if I time it in asymptomatic spurts, it would jolt the people in the nets and keep them from getting out while still making them miserable as hell and unable to attack. I'm halfway through welding a stock for the launcher when I notice the sun is coming up. Once Lucius is awake, I'll ask him for ideas on the wiring for the net itself. And Al can help me get the voltage right and test it. We'll have to test it on me. I have to know what my enemies are suffering to know if they can still be a danger once in the net. And besides, it just seems right that I subject myself to any danger or trauma I'm looking to cause. Chill was weak, but I'm Batman, and Batman is not. I keep working well beyond sunrise. Uncle Lucius appears, his beard freshly trimmed, and hands me tea and 6 scrambled eggs. They have bits of bacon and cheese in them, just like his sister Mom used to make us on Sundays before church. Heya, I greet him with a wave. Couldn't sleep. He eyes over my work as I attack the eggs and tea with extreme prejudice. You know, I can dig up some interesting PDFs on improvised devices designed for capturing people non-lethally. Some of it is problematic given these manuals for kidnappers and terrorists in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. I blink at him. Some of it is how to torture with a car battery, but it can be useful to your ends. You are suggesting that to battle evil I use the Al-Qaeda Boy Scout manual. After pondering, Lucius slowly nods. Much of our understanding of modern anatomy, and especially pregnancy, stems from Nazi experiments on Jews. Evil beyond compare, but the knowledge can be redeemed for other purposes. Well, ain't this just a conundrum? Yeah, I'll look at it, or some of it. Is it in English, or will it be auto-translated to shit with Google? Lucius shakes his head. Al-Qaeda translated all of their materials into English. It's the most spoken language, after all. And Al-Qaeda are equal opportunity employers. This jolts a fear in me. Uncle Lou, I ask, suddenly feeling like a kid. How will I know if I've gone too far? He smiles. When you think your parents would be ashamed. With that, he walks off and disappears into the junkyard's maze, returning to the office to open it for the day's business. I continue fruitlessly for a few hours, improvising a timing belt for the launcher. I can shoot a short chunk of rebar about 10 feet when I decide to go check on Lucius. Maybe he printed out those psycho manuals, but hasn't had a chance to walk out here and deliver them. Besides, I'm ready for my second breakfast. Stiff, I trot to the front office near the gate of the junkyard. It's a sturdy brick building with an upstairs for Uncle Lou to live comfortably in. Honestly, my parents had let the building go, but when he moved in, he cleaned everything up, redid the stairs, and added lovely curtains and shutters. He even has a green thumb, growing mint and other herbs in window boxes. I spy the bat house he bolted onto the side, pleased. They keep the yard clear of pests. But as I walk around to the front, I see an SUV with sheriff on the side. Someone is visiting. I hurry in to see Uncle Lucius chatting with a man at the counter. He's dressed in jeans with a tucked-in plaid shirt. Uncle Lou darts his eyes to me. The sheriff sees this and looks over. It's the old coot from the TV. The interviewed sheriff from the meth trailer park I blew up. He doesn't smile. Quickly, he eyes over my shoulders as if to weigh me. Then his gaze travels down to my boots. I feel icy. It's like I'm dinner, and he's deciding how hungry he is. Bruce, this is Sheriff Golden, Uncle Lou says coolly. From down south. He says a tow truck of interest was seen in the area, and he's checking around at junkyards within driving range for it. Driving range of what? I ask, being smart by being dumb. Gordon straightens up. I spy his holster and see that it is a leather relic that has seen its revolver drawn infinite times. Meth ring blown to hell. His voice is an earthly rumble. Getting closer, he smells of coffee and motor oil. Tow truck was involved. Older model. Maybe a Mack. All black and tricked out. Seen it? I shake my head. We have a newer one that Al takes out when we get the call, I say, but mostly other towing companies drop off to us. We don't go out much. He looks to Uncle Lou. It's clear he had said the same thing. Mind if I walk around? Gordon asks. Been a dog's age since I dug through a nice yard like this. Used to have an El Camino that needed a lot of attention. Sure, I offer. Let me grab an apple and I'll show you around. Showing him around everywhere, except my covered car park, that is. With as many acres as we have, I just need to outlast this guy's patience. He has an easy gait, part meander and part stroll, but his head is always high, and his attention swings from side to side. Taking everything in, we visit the stacked car frames and the glass containers. Then the electronics shed. He occasionally rummages through a bin or kicks a rim just to look interested. But it's clear he is interested more in me. He doesn't say much, putting the pressure for conversation back onto me. But I know enough not to speak unless spoken to. I give him nothing. But he is way more patient than I expected. Isn't he overworked? Doesn't he have to be somewhere? He's an elected official, so maybe he has time to burn. Who knows? What's this? He asks, noticing my launcher on a covered workbench. Damn it. He runs his weathered fingers along the string of capacitors to the launcher. Plucking at the taut timing belt, he puts together what it is I'm trying to make. I'm unnerved by the smile that perks up his mustache. Turning toward me, he nods. I've seen all I need to, young man. Thanks for showing me around. As he strolls back toward the office, I feel compelled to follow him. I need to wave goodbye to this guy, to make sure to see him out. But he stops and slowly turns on his heels. Joker is a shifty one, right? Who? I ask, trying not to go pale. Caught one of the guys running off. Described the tow truck driver pretty well. But the meth ring, pretty big operation. Shame there is a distribution center, somewhere in the city. Someone's got to find it. He glances at my launcher. You have yourself a good day, he says with a wink.